Welcome to Dan's Talks. My guest today is Jimmy Minardi, a longtime lifeguard and uh, physical training guy who does a lot of his training out on the beach with a group of people that over years and years, probably more than 20 years. I think you've been out there
Oh yeah,
and
25.
totally dedicated to, and this is out in East Hampton Village. And this, recently, I guess it was just this spring, the uh, mayor of East Hampton legitimized and made a partnership with one of the organizations you run, which was East End Ocean Rescue, um, to establish the East Hampton Village Ocean Rescue. Is that correct?
Well, it's East Ham. Well, it is correct, but it's the right name is East Hampton Village Surf Rescue.
Good. And what my questions are these. First of all, you've been a lifeguard off and on all these years, and probably from Southampton all the way to Montauk on every stand that exists.
Yes, I've
Oh,
worked. I've worked at almost every stand from Cooper's Beach to Ditch Plains.
and but mostly, I think you're known as someone in East Hampton, and because that's been in your family. I think your dad was a lifeguard also. Is that correct?
My dad was an ocean guard, and he did all the beach erosion studies here as a for his science projects all the time with the East Hampton High School.
So did you go to East Hampton High
Graduated in 1980.
and been here since and be, or been off somewhere? Hold
Yeah,
on.
travel around.
Yeah, traveled. Where have you been?
Gosh, I lived all over. I was living in Colorado back here in the summers. Was a ski patroller in Aspen, Colorado for a while, and then I moved back here about 2 years ago. So I've been here full time since.
Yeah. So how long ago did you start that? Because I remember you from 20 years ago being here too.
Yeah, exactly. I've always been here in the summers, no matter where I go in the winter.
I see. Oh, good.
Yeah. I
Tell
go
me.
I go to a lot of cool places in the winter, but I'm always like a lot of locals. The magnet brought me back, and I'm always here from June until October. Always.
Um, East Hampton has its own East Hampton Lifeguard group that is part of the village. And this year in particular, there have been so many rescues needed that it's become difficult. And it's also been difficult to find people, young men and women who want to be village lifeguards because I'm told the pay isn't much. And so is this what you do interface now that you have a legitimate connection with the village?
Well, great question, Dan. We have East Hampton Village has actually raised the pay for the lifeguards, like the best paying lifeguards on Eastern Long Island or on Long Island, period. The East Hampton Village is also, we have our own lifeguard test now. And with Drew Smith, Jay Brunner, and Lucy Umtaj, we train these guards now extensively, the best training they can get. We have jet ski rescue. And now we've added the before and after hours surf rescue. So that's kind of been the evolution of East Hampton Village.
Um, so if someone gets in trouble during the day and they're at a place where there's lifeguards for the village lifeguards, do you enter into that or you?
Absolutely.
How
Another
does,
great question. We now have a before hours and after hours surf rescue in place where any of our village guards will get a page on their phone. Everything's done on the smartphone, for lack of better words. Everything is on the smartphone, and they'll get a page if there's an before and after hours rescue on their phone, and they can respond to that and help somebody in a water rescue situation.
it's in some ways it's a bit like the East Hampton, and this is nonprofit, so it's in a way it's like the uh, East Hampton Fire Department volunteers.
Yeah,
And
it's very similar. East Hampton Village Surf Rescue is it's a municipality rescue team. Yes, we do. We are now able to respond to after hours or before hours rescues when we're needed.
what are some of the other things before I get to that, tell me some of the places you've been in the winter. I gather you're a great surfer.
Well, the great part's debatable, but I love Mexico. I love surfing in California. I was down in the Maldives a couple of years ago. So I like to travel around. And of course, I'm a regular out here with my winter suit at the Georgia Jetty, which you know very well.
Yeah.
So that's my summer travel. I mean, that's my winter travels.
Um, Tell me about you also now have a Polaris, I'm told. That is a new one, or is it a couple of years old?
Well, you mean as far as Polaris vehicles for the beach?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we got East End Ocean Rescue, which is my non-for-profit I've had for 20 years, which is what you were referring to before. I raise money and I donate these vehicles to East Hampton Village. And yes, a couple of years ago I donated 2 vehicles actually. So yes, we have a lot of Polaris vehicles that we will be using if we need them on the after hours rescues.
What's a number to call just for the record, for people who might happen to see this video, if there is a need for the service after hours?
Oh, well, if you see, let's say, Dan, you're on the beach, you're chilling out, you got that cool hat on, you're in your chair, and you look out and you're like, whoa, someone's in a rip. What you do is you call 911, and that will dispatch the rescue teams, either the East Hampton Town Ocean Rescue, and they'll also dispatch the East Hampton Village Surf Rescue. So anybody on the beach can call in to 911, and hopefully we'll be there in time to save them.
Yes. Well, tell me about any of the activities that have resulted in that you're very proud of, that you got there in time, and there were. Do you remember any incidents that come to mind? There must be a lot.
I have one incident that's kind of really personal, especially with the Rattiner family. And your son he remembers the story because when I see him, he talks about it. But one day, me and Dave were up at Main Beach. We were lifeguards. It was 1999, and the cops came flying up right when we were checking. We were closing the beach down. And they said, we need 2 rescue swimmers. 2 people are drowning at Wyborgs. They threw me and your son in the car, and they drove us very fast down to Wyborgs, and we both swam out, and we rescued the person that was caught in the rip down there at Wyborgs, where there's no lifeguards. It was after hours. Somebody called in. I know it was back in those beginning of the cell phone days. I think it was on a what would they call them, flip phones then. And me and Dave Rattiner made the rescue. And that's what inspired my whole kind of idea of having an after hours rescue. So there you go. That's one I remember the most.
Isn't that something? I'll tell him the next time I see him that you're mentioning this on the podcast.
Well, when I see Dave, every time we always remember that moment, because he was a young guy and I was the seasoned lifeguard. I was like, dude, don't worry. You're going to be just fine.
Your family has been involved with not only lifeguarding, but also, I know maybe it's your sister or teaches swimming to kids in swimming pools. It's in the family, isn't it? That you are involved with.
You know what? That's totally. My brother now is deputy mayor of East Hampton Village, and he runs all the lifeguards. And he runs all the training, and he's in charge of all of East Hampton Village, either surf rescue or the day-to-day operations down at Main Beach. So that's probably what you were thinking.
Is there a greater need for rescues in beaches in the Hamptons this is the last few years than before?
Yes, Dan.
What do you think the cause of it is?
There's more people. There's a lot of people out here now, Dan. You know, man. Come on. There's just like we're like people are staying. At the end of the day, well, when we blow the whistle at 5 o'clock, yeah, 20 years ago, maybe there's what 15 people on the beach. I blow the whistle now. Now we have to use a foghorn because people are like so far down the beach.
Wow.
That means that our beach attendants, especially in the village, since that day, me and David Rattiner made that rescue down at Wyborg's, we have like 100% increase of bathers on the beach. That's what's putting pressure on our first responders.
Do you think that global warming has had any impact on sea puss or the kinds of things that would drag people out?
Well, a sea puss is a very that was the term that I was raised on. Sea puss. It's funny, bro, because that's how my dad used to talk about them. A sea puss, which is a great name for a rip, by the way. I think it's better than rip currents. And by the way, Dan, it's not rip tides, it's rip currents.
Yes.
So sea pusses, which is a cool name, turned into rip currents. And that's the new coin name. Rip tide is people that don't know what they're talking about because it's not rip tides, it's rip currents, AKA sea pusses. But there's just more swimmers in the water now. It's just warmer longer. So yeah, so according to a global warming kind of premise, you know what? It's warm. It's like summer all the way through September. It's summer in June, and we have more rescues before and after on the shoulder seasons. So it's warmer than it used to be. It's almost mid-Atlantic weather we're getting now.
Oh, and now something that's increased and it's wonderful is the whales offshore. It didn't used to be like this.
No, I think that might have a lot to do with the fact of the protection of them. And now they're back on their normal kind of migratory fishing because they're always hungry, right? So there's fishing for bait. But yes, you're right. We get a lot of whales now, which is cool. I grew up here. I grew up surfing the jetty in the 70s and lifeguard at a ditch in the 80s. And I never saw whales. And now see whale. The tourists are on the beach with the camera. I'm like, yeah, whatever, a whale. See them all the time.
Yeah, maybe they have
seagull.
It's a photo op.
Yeah, they love it. Yeah, but you're right. There's a lot more marine life than there used to be.
Two other species I'd ask about. One is the seals we've had, is that more or less, and the other is sharks, more or less.
Well, sharks. We do have, people, the whole shark thing, the whole being eaten by an animal, I know that's always going to be in our minds, especially from Jaws, but we get more like dog sharks, little sand sharks. Sharks here on Long Island, I don't know. We're going to have more kind of basking sharks and spear sharks. But I don't, right now, Dan, I don't see that sharks are going to be an issue for us.
What about seals, especially when
I love seals in the water. Yeah, you're right. Because I was surfing the other day and a big seal popped up right next to me. It kind of scared me. I was surfing yesterday morning. One popped up. It kind of scares you. You're by yourself. You're chilling out. But yes, the seals and the spinner sharks and the dogfish, which are what we call sand sharks. Yeah, they're predominant in very abundant in our marine life. Nothing to be worried about.
No, I know. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. Is there any questions you want to ask me about any of this?
No, I'm good. I was just
did I miss anything?
Just it's been 25 years in the making for me to get the surf rescue team approved by the village.
Yeah.
And they never gave up. And it's really cool because it's all based on municipal guards that we have on duty all day.
Yeah.
And instead of like after 5 or before 9, telling them that they're not needed is kind of weird. And
Yeah.
now with the surf rescue, we have them available before and after hours for a
Yeah.
rescue to save a life. And they're very highly trained. They're all young. They're all strong. They're always at the beach. They're down there surfing. And I think it's a great template for municipalities to follow.
How many are there in the
I
organization?
got 43, which is interesting. I got 43 East Hampton Village highly trained young guards that signed up for the surf rescue, which they get the page on the phone and they're always at the beach. So our response time has been decreased as much as we can. Because it only takes 45 seconds to drown.
Yep. I think that's true.
Right. So you've been out there and you know what I mean. Like the ocean is not forgiving and the rip currents aren't. So the East Hampton Village, we're just doing the best we can to make sure that everyone who goes in the water comes out of the water.
Thank you again for being on the podcast. I hope this has helped people that didn't know about it and how to go about it. And I admire what you've been doing. Thank you.
Right on, Dan. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Bye-bye.